So it's Thursday on the Pagan Perspective. Welcome, I'm your host Yeka, and this week we're talking about altars, where to put them, altar space, and also ritual clothing. So I'll read the question to you, or the questions actually, we have two. The first is, what are some good locations to set up an altar? Because I live with family members that live in the same house, I also have another question. I was just wondering, is there a size restriction on setting up an altar with a circle around it? And the second question is Pagan Attire. Hello, I was wondering if you would consider doing video on clothes, on the clothes of craft and how you dress when crafting. So to talk about the first one with altars, that really depends, and really I would say there's two kind of questions to ask. The first is, what does a altar actually mean to you? And I think that's really important, because what an altar means to different... He's actually being nice. I don't know if you can see what he's doing, but he love bites. What an altar is to different people is going to be a very different thing. It depends on what tradition you're coming from and the personal meaning. So if you type in Wiccan altar or neo-pagan altar or pagan altar into the search bar above, you're going to come up with hundreds, literally, of videos of people showing off their altars and just saying, look, this is what I've done, this is, some people change it every week, some people, it doesn't get changed for years, some people have a lot of altar space, some have very little. My suggestion would be to sit down with yourself and think about what is that meaning for you. Are you beginning your craft, you're beginning your practice and basing it from a book? Then you might want to do specifically what that book that you are learning from says. Or you might say, okay, well, to me, for instance, an altar really represents the things that are important to me in my life and I want to be mindful of. So I want to have an altar to remind myself and represent that. So it could be what you often see with a beautiful tablecloth and candles representing this aspect and that aspect, but it could also be a bulletin board with things pinned up that you like. It could be a folder on your desktop. It could be a little arrangement of rocks on your bedside table. It could be that sort of anything. An altar, what it means to you, I mean, I can't tell you what your altar is or should be. That's something very personal. In terms of size restrictions on setting up a circle around it, that's really going to be the same thing. It depends on what an altar is for you. It kind of sounds from this question like they're asking if you are doing a ritual that you're setting an altar up for that specific ritual. And again, that would just be what you're comfortable with. The second question about that, in terms of, says that this person says they live with family members. And it's not really clear whether the family members are comfortable with this individual's practice or their exploration of it. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're setting up an altar, is how much do you want to share, depending on where you put it. If you're putting it somewhere that's very visible, you're probably going to get questions about it or that sort of thing. There's also different families, different living situations handle personal and communal space very differently. You might live, you might share a room with a partner or a sibling, or even if you're not sharing a room, family's personal space, people might come in or out. Maybe you want to have the altar in a more public area. So, I mean, it really depends on the person's individual situation and feeling out, and this is really, I think, the key, feeling out what is comfortable and what is important, what are the things that you want to achieve from this. So the second question is about the clothing and, what do we wear when we're casting? Because I don't set up usually rituals, I don't intentionally do a Sabbath ritual or something like that. My clothing reflects what I'm wearing each day. It's whatever I wear. I don't have anything specific that I wear to represent anything, really. I mean, I guess I do have a few pieces of jewelry that have really important meanings to me. My father made me a necklace like when I was a teenager, and sometimes I wear that because it's made from stone, and if it's up against me and it gets warm, like this kind of this stone in the sun. So I have things that are meaningful to me, but I don't have any, cloaks or clothing with specific colors. It's what am I wearing that day, and what I'm wearing that day is, based on what I'm going to do. Am I going to work? Am I giving some sort of presentation? Am I working out in the garden? Do I just want to be comfortable? Do I even care? Some days I don't care. Or, am I like, this is me coming from the gym clothes, So that sort of thing. I guess some of the other hosts might have a little bit more interesting info on that, but it really ties back to the first one in terms of what feels good. For me, the clothing isn't really important. For someone else, it might be. So, well, I hope that this kind of addresses some of the questions, and have a great week. I think, let's see, next week is subs week, so stay tuned for that, and see you next month.